Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 120, recording on Sunday, September 18th, 2022. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And we were away last week. I had COVID, and there were lots of shows and things to talk about, so we'll be catching up on all of those, starting with State of Play. That'll be the primary focus. Then Nintendo Direct, UB Forward, and D23, which everyone is abuzz about. But before we get into that, we got to touch on a big story today, even though I'm not crazy about talking about rumor or speculation, but these guys, Sean especially, is losing it. He's like, if we don't talk about this, we have to address it. It's going to be a huge thing. So let's talk about it quick. GTA 6, apparently footage leaked. I haven't seen any of it. I tried to click on things, and the footage has been removed. Sean knows the details. He's a hacker. He knows what's going on. Sean, what's the deal here?
I don't know all of the details, and I didn't actually watch the videos, but I believe they have been confirmed to be legit. And so what I just read kind of just prior to the show was that somebody did hack them, but it was more of a social engineering situation. They kind of were able to maneuver themselves to get onto the team Slack, and somehow from there they got access to this stuff. So it's videos, screenshots, and source code as well. They have access.
Source code thing is kind of a big deal, and I did not know about that. When I first heard about it, I assumed that people working from home, someone broke into someone's house or copied files from a computer. I was kind of surprised to hear it was like a hacking thing, but since it's social engineering, my speculation was get into the Slack, get access to someone's desktop at home that's working remotely, and get access to local files. But I think the big news was it's Vice City scenario.
I did read something about that, but again, I really wasn't that interested in the details of the game. I mean, I know it hasn't been announced yet, but we all know that there would be a GTA 6, so that's not that crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few things that could happen in this leak that would be, wow, I did not see that coming for GTA. Pretty much can picture what a new GTA game is going to look like at this point. I think one of the videos had like a female character. Yeah. I mean, I guess the biggest shock would be if GTA went create your own character versus like characters in a story, no matter how many there are. That would be the biggest surprise to me, but I think they kind of fulfill that expressive play element through GTA Online. So even then, I would be very shocked if that happened. Is this a big deal? Do leaks matter, as Sean might have said before the show? Are these leaks a big deal? What do you guys think?
Well, that is the question. I think a lot of fans are like, what's the big deal? Like, we deserve to see some stuff. Why haven't they announced this game yet? But, obviously this is pretty early, so some of the stuff looks kind of rough. So that's, number one, it could affect people's perception of the game. People look at these screenshots and they're like, what the hell? This looks like crap or something. Which, would that affect GTA sales? Hard to believe that would really.
Even then, how bad could it be where they couldn't? It might even be better that they could react to it or change things the way every Sonic thing that's ever happened does. Like it's not like launching the game. It might even benefit them to have stuff leaked. I'm not going to go down any conspiracy routes, but like they can react to things.
Yeah, I mean, and they're at a point where like Rockstar can take their time and release stuff when they want to. Like there's no pressure there. They take their times with their games. So that's, it's messing with their marketing plan and all that kind of stuff, right?
Totally. I would say in terms of the source code getting leaked, that is a big deal because they could have some, pretty impressive tech behind the scenes that they maybe don't want to share with, the other, game developers around. But at the same time, if someone who doesn't know what they're doing is looking at the source code for a game engine. It is gigantic. There is so much code. It would take you so long to figure out how everything works, how everything's tied together. Because it's not like he also downloaded all the documentation for the engine and, you know, how everything runs.
If there is documentation.
So, I mean, yeah, if there is documentation.
I also, like, for their engine, it also theoretically might not be that hard to take that engine, strip out any GTA 6 specific code, and, like, post it on underground servers, whatever, torrent sites. Like, it's not that out of the question that you could use that and people could start modding and making games with that engine for free. Now, how big of an audience there is for that, or the ability for people to make money, might be nothing. So no one could legitimately use it to make money, I don't think.
No, at least not for a few years. I would say it would take you at least a few years to, like, basically reverse engineer how to use the whole thing and then create assets and create a game with it. So, and by that time, I mean, you're talking about one person trying to make something with the GTA engine to make an open world game, and you're comparing that to, like, Assassin's Creed, who has a team of 1,000, and Rockstar, who has like a team of 2,000. Like, they're going to blow whatever this thing is into the water. So it
really,
doesn't
the
matter.
thing you said, the only beneficial thing would be really specific technology or algorithms they've developed that are unique. Otherwise, you know, people know what you need to make a game engine. If they could make it on their own, they would. And there are other game engines out there. So
yeah, and it's not like we're living in the age where, you know, an Unreal Engine license was $1 million, right? Like, we now have free Unreal Engine, free Unity, free whatever the other ones are. So, like, you have options that are very viable, very well documented, lots of tutorials online, and then you're thinking like, oh yeah, but I could use the Rockstar engine, which has no documentation, no tutorials online, no information at all that I could figure out how it works. Like, it just doesn't make sense to use this engine to make a game if you really wanted to make a game, other than to say, hey, I stole the Rockstar engine and I'm using it as your marketing push. But I don't think that's a good idea to do that.
No, yeah, I think in terms of like what could hurt the company would be stuff like code of randomness for loot boxes, or how they like cheat people out of stuff. Like that is the only thing I could really see.
Or, I mean, there could be code from maybe third-party partners or something that could get them in trouble. Like, that could be something maybe. But, yeah, I guess, you know, and then there's questions of, like, internally, what does this mean? Like, obviously, security, they need to have questioning their security. You know, how is this possible? How did somebody get their way into the Slack? And then, you know, other things like, does this mean they don't want people working from home? Like, is that going to stop? Like, I don't know. But I think it will have more of an impact internally. I don't know, like, would it ever hurt sales? I don't think so. That seems impossible. But, you know, beyond all that, it is illegal. So it's not just like, hey, fans should get access to this. Like, no, they can release stuff when they want. And this was illegal.
It was definitely illegal, Sean. Look, you wanted to talk about it. I didn't want to acknowledge it. You wanted to.
I think we just nailed it right there.
Okay. All right. Let's get into the state of play. So, state of play September 2022 from Sony. This happened about a week and a half ago now, I think. Or was it this past week? I can't even tell anymore.
This past week. It
After
was
COVID,
part of TGS, right? I think, or leading up to TGS. I don't know.
Perhaps. I honestly can't remember the days anymore at this point. From whence I got COVID and beyond. Whence was used incorrectly. It's long. I got long COVID. Everything I do now, that's my excuse. Something's up. Something is up. With the way I'm thinking about things. Let's start with again, we're not going to go through everything. I think we're going to have to do highlights for most of this stuff. Too many things to talk about. Number one, the thing that had the world abuzz was the last part of the presentation, the God of War Ragnarok trailer. And I really like God of War. I don't think I love it as much as everyone else. I think it's a very good game, a great game. with a couple of small flaws. And I was excited for this game just because there's not much else coming out this year. And it's a AAA big game from Sony. And my expectations were blown away with this trailer. I think like art-wise, variety, the characters, the bosses, the creatures, the camera work, and most importantly, the gameplay. Like, I was like, how are they going to expand on that combat, which I liked but didn't love if it wasn't for like the variety the game introduces halfway through. It's spoiler in that trailer. Can we say it now? Can I talk about spoilers from God of War 1?
I think
we talked about it already.
You see the Blades of Chaos in this trailer. So they give you the Blades of Chaos halfway through God of War, and one of the best twists that involves gameplay, I would probably say ever in video game. It needed it so bad at that point. I loved the axe, and I'm getting kind of sick of it. And then all of a sudden, boom, story, twist, moment, changes gameplay for the rest of the game for the better, and having options to play. So good. So those are in, and they've expanded gameplay with like grapple mechanics, using that like for locomotion, it looks like, to get to someplace very quickly. There's certainly new aiming mechanics within combat with weak spots, with runes on enemies, and a few things there. So I'm like, okay, it looks like they've really expanded on combat. And I found I got a little repetitive with button mashing, and if you remember, you would mash like the secondary button with Atreus to shoot arrows and do stuff from the side. There was a quick time moment where there's this weird creature that he wrestles, and then Atreus starts shooting it. That looked amazing. So yeah, I feel like it's doing sequels the way you should compared to Horizon. Whether that's actually true when we play it, that remains to be seen. But are you guys in to the level I am on Ragnarok?
I must say it looked pretty good. They also added a new sword weapon, which I don't think you mentioned there, which I thought was really cool looking. I mean, it's good to have. Sword. I think someone in the Discord says like 35 seconds into the trailer or something like that. It's pretty early on. It's only for a brief moment of time in like a bluish looking area. But also I love that the Mimir head is back. That provided like so many like humorous moments in the first game that I'm really excited for that. The one thing they didn't show, which I really enjoyed in the first game, was that sort of exploration element of like throwing your axe and knocking things down and finding little goodies hidden around. They didn't really show that off at all from what I remember. But every like movement, every animation just was so polished, had so much weight behind it. You could tell like just this game has real quality. And that, I don't know if it was CG or some sort of crazy in-game cinematic type thing, but that eclipse arrow shot thing they had was amazing. I couldn't believe that they were showing that in a trailer like this. And that, I don't know. I was just blown away by that. If that's in game, like that's a crazy high quality scene.
There's a montage at the end with some chase sequences too, with like a dog sled and going through this forest where trees are getting pulled down. It's if those are gameplay moments, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I was excited. Didn't really need to see a trailer to sell me on this, but like it did take it to another level. You know, like it kind of reminded me. I think maybe I kind of forgot. Like the last God of War was last gen. This is like a next or current gen, I guess now.
No, I think it comes out on PS4 as well.
Well, yeah, but I just mean like it's, and I guess that could maybe be a strike against it, as we've discussed in the past. But I think it looks very impressive, very current gen. The scale of everything, which I mean, that's always been kind of the big selling point of God of War. But you know, it seems like they've upped it again. And I mean, like all these kind of showcases we're going to be talking about today, most of them were pretty underwhelming. But to end with this, it kind of set itself apart from almost every other trailer we had seen. So
yeah, there was a bunch of shows leading up to this. The Nintendo Direct was earlier in the day, and then I feel by saving this to the end, Sony kind of showed last and established that this is the game that is probably going to dominate the holidays and will most likely be up against Elden Ring for Game of the Year. I guess we'll see. But yeah, it looks awesome. I'm way more excited than I was a short while ago. So it's that's pretty hard to do.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of other stuff going on here, the two major things for me were Stellar Blade, which was formerly Project Eve, which is another 3D action game. I think we've talked, I'm kind of getting burnt out on that in general, but this one did look particularly good, and I'm excited for that. And secondarily, a new Team Ninja open world game, and it's also, I think, Japanese, possibly fantasy or feudal Japan, called Rise of the Ronin, which I believe is published by Sony. Don't quote me on it.
It did say it was a PS5 exclusive.
Yeah,
so I don't know if it's published by Sony, but they definitely have some sort of deal.
I feel like all three of the games I just mentioned were under the Sony Interactive Entertainment banner. So that is 2024. And I thought it looked pretty good. I love Neo. I'm definitely excited for this, but I was already like, we have enough of these types of games. Can we get some new ideas? And we didn't know about Rise of the Ronin yet, and we didn't know about the Ubisoft Japan open world game as well. So I don't know how, like, it just seems like we need some new open world ideas here, because it's, and I guess I shouldn't say that because I tend to love all of these games, Sekiro, Neo, Ghost of Tsushima. So I'll probably play them all, but I am starting to hope for some new worlds to explore.
Yeah,
definitely. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Rise of the Ronin looked cool. It may not be my kind of game. Like, depends on, I guess probably difficulty level is what my question will be. But I thought it looked very nice. In terms of just something that seemed a bit different and kind of cool, I thought the Pacific Drive trailer was kind of intriguing. That was sort of the post-apocalyptic in a car, like road trip,
like a sci-fi twister almost.
Yeah.
Like Storm Chaser kind of thing. And I thought it might be VR. I don't think it is. Not to say they couldn't add it. Like, the look of it was kind of, I thought this is a really cool VR idea, but I don't think it is. It's the debut game from Ironwood Studios. Does anyone know anything about the studio, or no?
No, I don't.
But yeah, I thought that looked cool as well. The other stuff, there were a lot of VR mentions, but it's really just games we've already heard of previously, right?
Yeah, or games that are already out on the Meta Quest.
And I guess the other big thing was Tekken 8. Was that a first time seeing Tekken 8?
I believe so. It looked really polished, like really graphically polished.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember much about that.
It was kind of like a lightning storm, I believe.
Was there gameplay though, or was it just
I think so. I think it was like a fight in an arena.
Maybe I missed that part at the start and forgot to go back and watch it.
There was like a bunch of Yakuza games announced, which just add them to the list of games I need to play.
I thought it was just one. I thought it was like the new Like a Dragon.
I think there was like 3 across all the shows. I don't know if...
Oh, across all the shows. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think only one was announced here, but...
We should mention, like, there are other showcases and things from Tokyo Game Show that we're probably not going to talk about, but I don't know. If we're missing any big important things, let us know, because I could not, and Huck, you were asking for this, I could not find a great source for all the other kind of announcements and things that were coming from the show. It's kind of hard to find.
I think TGS like officially starts this week, coming up, like Monday.
Oh, okay.
I think
maybe.
I was seeing some things from Alex saying that this is like the biz dev days. Like, so I think they've just let in certain things. There's not, everyone on the show floor just yet. So I don't know if more stuff will come out this week, or if like it's all going to be written up now and then released throughout the week. But yeah.
One interesting little tidbit with the Yakuza thing too that you were mentioning. It seems like the Yakuza name is being dropped now.
Only for Like a Dragon, because that was
series.
They established Yakuza Like a Dragon last year, and this is kind of an offshoot thing where it looks like they're exploring different eras and like wasn't this a wild Old West or kind of type scenario?
Okay, yeah, it was like an old Japan, I think.
It feels like it's a way they're going to explore maybe the defining aspects of Yakuza in different ways.
I guess like the Judgment series was like that too, right? Kind of a spin-off.
Yeah.
Oh, Judgment's actually a spin-off of Yakuza? Yeah. I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like how Persona is a spin-off of Shin Megami Tensei, which you would never guess.
And I also didn't know.
Yeah. Going back to Rise of the Ronin, what's the deal with his hand? Did you guys notice that he's got like a metal hand, and wasn't there some sort of like weird hand thing with Neo? Oh, Sekiro?
I thought you were going to say like seems like a Sekiro thing, which it was.
Yeah, so what's the deal with that? You played a lot of Sekiro.
Yeah,
what was the deal with the hand?
Certain powers were linked to it. I think you could swap things out on it. It wasn't. It was mechanical, but I think made out of like human parts. Don't quote me on this. I don't really remember. But I don't know. The hand really didn't come into play all that much. At least I'm watching the video right now, and
that's From Software, not Team Ninja.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe there's like some sort of thread between the two games, but it doesn't appear to be.
No. And that's the thing. Like when Sekiro and Neo both came out, I was like, they're kind of borrowing from each other. Neo ripped off the Souls-like idea, like the style, and made a game, and then they countered with Sekiro, which is a little more action-focused, but had a lot of similar ideas. So how many times are these different games going to cannibalize each other's ideas before we're sick of them? Like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I find when I see games like this, like the same thing happened. I'm pretty sure with the Ubisoft one, I just think of Ghost of Tsushima now, and I'm like, okay, I feel like I've played this game already. Especially, and this one definitely feels like an Assassin's Creed game with all the like jumping off buildings and having that like wingsuit and stuff. Very Assassin's Creed style.
Yeah.
So
and the hawk, which I think was
and the hawk, yeah.
Like the birds kind of scouting stuff was in Origins and continued into other ones.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how they differentiate themselves from those other games, because right now I don't know. I don't have a lot of time for giant open world games, and I would like to try this game, but it's one of those games. It's like I don't know how far I'll get, and I don't know how much I'll get to experience it. Even Ghost of Tsushima, I basically had to mainline the story. I know, Frank, I don't think you really liked that game because once you did everything else, it kind of killed it.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it a lot. I think that the quest structure and design is pretty repetitive if you're not just doing the main story, but it's still amazing. Like it's a really good game, and Rise of the Ronin I think looks good. So I mean, if it's good, I'll still play it. It's just it's just a recurring theme, not just with Japanese open world games, but just third-person action games. And when we get to the Nintendo Direct, all the farming games that are really similar. It's just like there's too many games being made, and there's too many of the same thing. And that could be a good problem to have, I guess. I'm just kind of worried that people aren't trying original things. It actually makes me appreciate something like Lies of P or kind of these weird one-off games a bit more than I used to. But again, it's just also another trend is just pushing me to indie stuff more and more, which is doing weird, different things on a more regular basis.
Yeah, for sure.
There was another kind of looked like mech third-person action game, Sin or Sign Duality, which looked okay, didn't blow me away or anything. And I think there was like a Hogwarts Legacy exclusivity quest thing. that was about it. Am I missing anything?
Well, you are missing the huge reveal of PlayStation Stars, which I think was actually announced previously. I guess I hadn't heard it or kind of missed it, but yeah, this is like some kind of digital collectible thing that Sony is pushing. That's like a loyalty thing. I don't. It
seemed like you get something not quite, but similar to a NFT with these models that look like they were part of the Astro Bot free game. Remember when you would unlock museum things of old consoles? I think they're just those 3D models reused. So
they definitely didn't use the term NFT, but I was thinking
it's not
that,
right. Like I'm assuming multiple people can get the same one.
Right.
There's nothing exclusive about them, but it's harnessing that type of idea. Is this the return of PlayStation Home, where you can display your trophies in your own custom home environment? Sean, don't take that seriously. That was a joke. That is not happening.
Could be.
Those things do not work.
Well, it's
maybe they see a future where PlayStation VR has something similar to a metaverse where you can have these things to show and display, but I would not hold my breath.
I mean, Steam has this, right? Like those weird collectible things that you get or trading cards. Like I have never looked at those. Like I always have some kind of indicator saying I have like 40 of these things, and I have never.
You got to sell those.
So
got to sell them.
You can actually sell those for money.
You sell them for like 5 cents each, and then you get like a free game every once in a while.
Oh, jeez. I'm out to lunch on this.
Yeah. The secret is to play the new games quickly and sell them for like 30 cents. Then you make a killing.
So who am I selling it to? Just people who are actually collecting these things?
Yes, random people. This is the genius of Valve, because they take a cut. They take a cut of every trading card sale. So you sell it for 30 cents, you only make 25, and Valve takes a 5-cent cut. And this happens millions and millions of times a second. And Valve is just rolling in their money like Scrooge McDuck. It's amazing.
I don't think they happen. There's a million per second, but maybe per month for trading.
I don't know. There's a lot of games on Steam.
Maybe. You know what? I'd like to see some numbers on that. I'm kind of curious.
Even if it's 100,000, even if it's 100,000 a month, and they're making between 2 and 5 cents, that's like, 200 to whatever that is. That's like a good chunk of change,
It's an office space scenario, the fractions of a cent, but
yeah.
I think that's it for State of Play. I know we went over it relatively quickly, but I'm ready to give my final grade.
Oh, we're grading it. Okay.
Of course.
I will give it a B++.
Ooh. I mean, it's a B- probably for me. It was pretty bad outside of God of War. I guess there's a couple things, but
okay, just from a Sony perspective, if you're into Sony, you got 2 more Sony exclusive games that look really good. Rise of the Ronin and Stellar Blade. We don't know if they're going to be good yet, but no one else seemed to be pumping out anything original. If that's not a sequel, that's not a spin-off. Those are new ideas, which is hard to come by these days.
Fair enough.
Is that what we're rating it on, though? Like, how good they did against the shitty competition? If everyone rated a turd and then they put, a little less turd down, should they get a high rating?
I guess it depends how you define a turd. I don't see... those are Stellar Blade. We don't know enough about it, but the gameplay looks awesome, and it looks great, and it's on PlayStation 5. So I'm at least giving it the benefit of the doubt that it will be a good game. Rise of the Ronin is coming from Team Ninja, who is great at action games, has made great games similar to this, but not as action-based. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that that's going to be a great game as well. Those are 2 exclusive new games for Sony and 1 game that is going to be probably the most popular game of the holiday season. That's pretty good. B++.
So I was not interested in Stellar Blade. It basically looks to me like Bayonetta meets Monster Hunter meets tons of long-winded narrative stories in between each boss fight. So not interested at all. And Rise of the Ronin, yes, I think that looks good. God of War obviously looks amazing. I'm with Sean. Nothing else really piqued my interest, so I'm going to go with Sean B- as well.
I'm rewatching Stellar Blade, and I will admit, like, the intro portion was really drawn out and a little boring, but when it got to the action, dudes, this game rips. This Stellar Blade looks amazing.
I mean, I guess the only other thing I would say, like, and I don't know if we're like going to really be comparing all of these showcases. It's a little weird just because it's not like this is E3 where it's like everybody, it's just like you're showing all your best stuff for the year. Like, this is kind of like loosely tied to TGS, but it's like, you know, it's a state of play and a direct. Like, how many of those happen in a year? Like, some of them show nothing. It's hard to know. It's like apples to oranges in a way.
Just give your grade, Sean.
I already did. B-.
Yeah, B-.
Give it again with the correct one. I'll keep going until you say it's a B+. All right, Huck, you give your grade. You didn't give yours yet.
You're right, I didn't. I already said that I was going with Sean's B-, so I will also repeat my incorrect grade.
I didn't remember B- coming out of your mouth. All right. Still not that bad. For a couple of Sony naysayers like you, that's pretty good.
Yeah, where's your blue haze going on? You got this like purple haze? I don't like
It's
this.
a combination. It's a combination of blue and red. It's because we're doing Nintendo Direct next. I don't know how to add brown to light, because then I'd add Ubisoft into the light as well. But
is that really their color?
It is.
I think
to
it'd
me
be purple.
Brown or poop. Or poo.
Okay.
Okay, Nintendo Direct was the same day, and I really don't have a lot to talk about. I think the thing people were the most excited for was an announcement that kind of parlayed into Xbox, which was GoldenEye is coming to the online Nintendo 64. And I don't think it was officially in the Nintendo Direct, but Xbox announced a version of it is coming to Game Pass, correct?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't in the Nintendo one. So this is a really weird, because I've been reading up on it, and it seems like the facts keeps changing every time I check. But from what I understand, so Nintendo said, okay, we're for the N64 Switch Online, they're going to be releasing GoldenEye. It's the exact same as the N64 game, but it's going to have online play. Then Microsoft said, we are also releasing GoldenEye for Game Pass. It is going to have 4K visuals. It will not have online play. And I can't remember if there was anything else mentioned, but it was kind of confusing because people were expecting, there were rumors and it had leaked years ago or whatever.
Yeah, and achievement lists have come out subsequently and stuff like that.
So there was a remaster of GoldenEye that was supposed to come out for Xbox for years now. And so they finally announced this thing and everybody was like, oh, this is the remaster. But I don't think it is. I think it's still the N64 game, but with 4K visuals, whatever that means.
Yes. And I think they will update the controls as well for modern controllers, which is key. Now, everyone listening or watching at youtube.com/GameJunk is snapping right now. They're like, who is this troll host that said the biggest thing in the game, in the Nintendo Direct, was GoldenEye? And it was not intentional. I was looking at my list, which is enormous, of everything that was in this, and off screen was the thing people actually want to hear about, which is, that was not intentional, I swear to God. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, the sequel to Breath of the Wild. We have an official title and a release date, tentatively, of May 12th, 2023. There was some bits of gameplay, seemed to be like based in the sky, a lot of gliding and islands floating in the sky, so maybe a bit of a hybrid between Breath of the Wild and Skyward Sword, or borrowing some of those elements. Color palette looked interesting. I thought it looked pretty good, although there's not a lot to go on. Sean, you are one of the people who still claim that Breath of the Wild is one of the greatest games or greatest game ever, and you still haven't woken up to the fact that it's not. So are you excited for Tears of the Kingdom?
I am excited. I agree. There was not that much to go on. I mean, what they did show looked cool, but I mean, there was a lot of build up to about like 15 or 20 seconds of actual stuff. So,
the release date's probably the biggest thing. You're always debating, is this actually coming out? Will they push it to the next console like Nintendo typically does with Zelda games? And it seems like it's scheduled to happen in the relatively near future.
Yeah, I agree.
Huck, Tears of the Kingdom moving your needle?
Slightly, I guess. I mean, I liked Breath of the Wild. I still have not beaten it, but I enjoy the exploration aspects of it. I hate Skyward Sword, so anything that is Skyward Sword-esque, I am not really that interested in.
I just like the islands, like the flying between islands and stuff like that seems similar.
Yeah, not interested.
But that's not why you hate Skyward Sword. It's the motion controls and other stuff, right? It's not the concept of flying islands that revolts you.
True. Yes, it is the 10-hour tutorial that is boring as hell. But I would argue that I'm almost excited to return to Dreamland in a deluxe fashion with Kirby.
Wow.
Because I love that game on the Game Boy, and I'm interested to play it in this like up-resed, HD deluxe version. I think it'll be fun. And I think it's got co-op now as well. So I don't know what this game is exactly, if it is a remake of that game or what.
Kirby's Return to Dreamland came out for the Wii.
Yeah,
oh,
it's an actual game.
Yeah,
that's
Kirby in Dreamland, I think, is the original Kirby on Game Boy.
Yeah, so it's not a remake of the original. It's just a remastered version of the Wii game, I guess, which I have never played.
Oh, you're right. It's just called Kirby's Dreamland.
Ouch.
Oh, okay. I'm not interested then.
Well, I mean, before we touch on any other announcements, I mean, the big story here was that there was huge rumors that there was going to be a Metroid Prime remaster for Switch announced, and there was going to be both.
Is this a dream you had?
No,
I mean, there's been rumors of this forever, for the last 5 years.
People are saying the game's done. They just need to announce it. Like, it's literally ready to go. But
they're saying.
And then Twilight Princess and Wind Waker supposedly were going to get some sort of package deal for the Switch. And neither of those announcements happened. And people were not happy about that. But it makes me wonder, because I feel like this happened before, like with the Switch Pro. And I mean, obviously that, like, the Switch Pro still hasn't really come, like it, but like there was talk at the time that I think Nintendo, like, if stuff leaks, Nintendo almost like has a policy just not to announce it if it leaks, or if there's
they go contrarian, like we'll get rid of it. Just to not allow leakers to be correct.
I honestly, something like that has been said, and I almost wonder if that's what's happening here. But yeah, I don't know. I was actually looking forward to those announcements, so I was kind of disappointed as well.
Now, other than that, my list is enormous here. Half of the things I don't remember. The next biggest thing I think was Pikmin 4 being official, even though it didn't show anything about it.
Yeah.
I did buy the Pikmin shirt Miyamoto's son was wearing. It's coming in the mail.
Nice.
There was one game announced I was interested in. I believe it was announced here. Master Detective Archives Rain Code, which is from the creators of Danganronpa. And it looks very similar to those type of games, just not obviously set in the Danganronpa universe. So I am intrigued about this one because I like those games. I think they're great. But yeah, I had a really hard time with this one because, this one being the whole direct, because it was basically just announcing games that are already out on other consoles for the Switch, which I don't necessarily know.
I feel like that's
why.
every Nintendo Direct.
I know, but I don't know why they had to spend so much time doing that. I guess maybe they're doing it for the people that only buy a Nintendo Switch and don't know anything else, so these games might be a big deal. But it seems so kind of weird to spend so much time on all these games in one single direct. Why wouldn't you like break it up a little bit? Maybe have like, 2 directs 2 weeks apart and split it up so it's not so boring. But I don't know. I could be wrong on that.
So the other trends that really does not have me excited with these Nintendo Directs. So many farming games and simulator games combined, like basically Stardew Valley in 3D. There was a lot of those types of games here. So if you're into those types of games, I'm sure you'd be excited by this, but it's getting harder to tell the difference between them or why I'd want to play one over the others. Because to be honest, the art styles, if I was going to try to attract someone to that genre, it would be all about the art style. That's basically what pulled me into Viva Pinata. And none of the art styles, whether it's Harvestella, I can't even remember by looking at the titles. Harvestella, I remember because it's got an okay title.
Fae Farm, maybe?
Maybe, yeah, that's one, I think. But like, their art styles are not distinct, really, in any way. Even that's similar about a lot of these games. And the second trend is that I am done with, and this is not a Nintendo thing, games names having ridiculous subtitles after them. Like, it's always like a mouthful word salad of the title followed by colon, some ridiculous subtitle for the games. Can we get better at naming games and like just coming up with good names for games? Because it's getting ridiculous what these titles are for games, and they're stupid. They're not even good. It's not like I see the subtitle and I'm like, wow, I'm glad they included that. It's some weird marketing, exposure, keyword search thing. Like it's garbage. It's got to stop. And it's not just video games. Movies do this too, but enough with the subtitles.
Yeah, I mean, I'm scanning through the list of games here. I don't remember what most of these even are.
Story of Seasons was another farming game.
Yeah, I mean, so that is a problem, I would say. But I mean,
Various Day Life, like it was that wasn't really that was a weird game.
I don't remember that one. The only thing scanning through this list that I remembered looked kind of interesting was Oddballers, which I think is actually a Ubisoft game. It's kind of like a multiplayer dodgeball game, although I feel like there's a couple of these already out there as well. Stickbold, I think, is one of them. So I don't know if this one's doing anything different. And obviously, there was that. What was the other dodgeball game that came out last year? Why can't I think of it? It was like kind of like a free to play, or eventually went
Knockout City.
Yeah,
yeah, that was like a different take. This is like top down, like cartoony.
Yeah,
maybe a bit like. I don't know. I was going to say Fall Guys, but I don't really see it now that the customization aspects were borrowed from Fall Guys. But, Knockout City was basically a shooter in dodgeball form, competitive, probably close to Splatoon.
The other game that was announced was Octopath Traveler 2, which I think was probably a pretty big announcement.
That had been announced before, though, I think.
Had it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, then. I don't know.
I'm not positive.
I hadn't heard of it, but I think people will be interested in that for sure. I actually started playing or replaying a bit of Octopath Traveler 1. I still don't really like the, totally separate storylines that kind of just like grace off each other as you go through the game, but I don't know. I like the art style a lot. And the gameplay is good.
Yeah, so I guess the other big trailers, Fire Emblem Engage, which comes out in January. And then there are a couple of their biggest games coming this fall, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, and what was the other one?
Bayonetta 3.
Bayonetta 3, yeah. Which, I mean, they looked good, but nothing really new there, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, other Sifu and It Takes Two, a few other games coming to the Switch, but who cares?
Yep, that's about all I have to say on this one. I mean, the Wii, or what is it? The Nintendo Switch Sports, they are coming out with a golf update, but it got delayed. But that I'm kind of interested in, I guess. But that's about it.
Yeah, kind of a dud. Are we going to give our letter grades?
Sure.
Yes.
I mean, it's definitely a dud, in my opinion.
It's a D plus dud.
Oof.
I was going to give C minus, but that's too close to a B plus. I cannot even. Not that close.
I think it's got to be at least in the C's for me. Just
Okay, you're
because of
right.
the
I take it back.
Too,
Breath of the Wild is a big deal. C minus. C minus.
Yeah, C minus, I would say.
Across the board, C minus. I agree.
All right, C minus. Sorry, Nintendo. You had a chance, but you blew it again. But you didn't blow it that bad. Let's get to the UB Forward, which happened in the prior week. And I don't know. This is a very strange thing because it's almost, you could look at it as just Assassin's Creed event. They split it up into a bunch of stuff and then almost a separate section with different hosts and vibe for Assassin's Creed stuff, which was really strange. But let's talk about the first half before we get to Assassin's Creed, because I don't have a lot to say about it. The weirdest thing to me is how many of these games are just like stuff that's existed already, offshoots, mobile versions of stuff, free-to-play versions of things, of like existing properties. Nothing that took place in that first part wowed me at all. It was more like, this is still going. They're still trying to get people to play this game. Now, maybe there is a lot of people playing some of these. And in addition to the Disney one, these big companies seem to be like really pushing mobile free-to-play stuff, which they must be making money on, but I don't know from whom, because I don't know anyone who plays these things. It's so weird to me how these things are making money. But the biggest disappointment out of the whole first half of the show was Skull and Bones. Like, this game has been around, been talked about for a long time, and honestly, of the gameplay stuff they showed, 50% of it was swapping cannons on ships. Anytime they showed gameplay, it was like swapping out different cannons, which, let's be honest, didn't look all that different. And, you know, not a lot of what you're going to actually do in the game other than customize your ship, which, not surprisingly, I do not give a shit about customizing a pirate ship. If it was fun, I might care. But am I the only one that was like, this, after 6 or 7 years of talking about this game, this is what we're seeing, and it's coming out this year?
Yeah, I struggled with it, especially the part where they had they talked about the insider program, and then they showed like a bunch of streamers talk about how great it was that they got to play the game early. Like, what is this? Why are you showing this? Like, yeah. Do you think just because these people say the game is great because you're getting paid to say the game is great, that we'll think it's great? I don't understand what's going on here. Not saying they're getting paid. I mean,
there's a competitor. This, I thought initially, was going to be more of let's say a shooter or competitive action-based pirate game compared to Sea of Thieves. I'm not sure. So I would want to showcase what that combat is. Like, why is this exciting combat versus what Sea of Thieves offer, which, even though I don't like it, at least is visually intriguing and has a charm to it. This felt like, charmless is a way to describe it, I think.
Yeah, I was really surprised because, it's coming out in November, and I feel like I hadn't seen that much from this game yet. And I thought, well, this is definitely their chance to showcase this game. And it was originally, I believe, a spin-off from Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And it feels like it hasn't really, like, it feels like they took just a portion of that game and they haven't really built on it or expanded beyond that. And I mean, it could just be that they haven't shown much. Maybe they're like rushing to get this thing done and they couldn't put together a video to showcase it right now, which
the game's coming out in 2 months.
I know. It's like, it's a bad sign either way.
Especially when you didn't have anything else. Like, it's not like they had to cut that down because they had so much other great stuff to show. They really didn't have anything. And they did extend this portion of the stream to, like, by literally showing montages of swapping weapons in menus and on a ship. Like, if that's what you decided to fill time with this video, I cannot think of a bigger warning sign. And then I'm watching all this. I'm like, whoa, this must be getting delayed at least a year. And then they drop November. I'm like, whoa, something does not add up here. This feels like, okay, for better or worse, this game's done and it's coming out. And if people play it, and we make some money up, maybe we'll continue. But otherwise, it's dead in the water.
What I'm reading here, and I kind of remember this, but it says it's been in development for a decade. So, I mean, that is crazy. I don't know what is going on with this game, but it's not looking good.
Now, I don't know if it was announced, I think, closer to 7 years ago or something like that, but maybe people are adding development time into that before it got talked about. That 7 is just a guess, by the way, with my stout
Assassin's Creed,
that maybe COVID compromised.
COVID. Black Flag did come out in 2013. So they were obviously thinking about it, during development of that game, or at least like right around the time it came out. So I can believe that it was in some sort of production for that long, or maybe not full production, but being worked on, quote unquote. But that's a long slog to work on a game like this.
Yeah, even the stuff they showed, in the back of my head, I'm like, I feel like Black Flag was better at the combat. Like, it's all about like putting this armor on the outside of your ship, which isn't even really a real pirate ship thing, I don't think. Like, do you remember them swapping out like just meshes on the front of the boat to protect yourself in battle? Like, that doesn't feel like a real pirating thing at all.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Not looking good. I will say, even though it's not really my genre or a game I'm that excited about, the Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, that gameplay demo looked good and kind of showcased some cool elements. It was a little long. Like, it really, I was feeling the length, even though I was kind of excited to start. And then I was like, okay, let's wrap it up. If we're going to play this game, we're going to play. I guess that's the theme of the whole Ubisoft thing. Like, just way too long. And stretching out like minuscule ideas and announcements into an hour and a half show. I don't get it.
Yep. I hear you on what you were saying earlier too, like the mobile games. Like, maybe I'm imagining it, and I'm sure other publishers do this, but like, it feels like when something's successful at Ubi, they double down on it and double down on it again, to the point where eventually people get sick of it, or maybe not. I mean, I guess there is still an audience playing these games, but to the outsider, it just seems like I can't even, like, there were like 3 different Division games shown. I'm not ready to
segue yet, but that was the whole thing with Assassin's Creed, where they released too many of them too fast, and then they're like, yeah, we'll pump our brakes. We're overkilling, and then in this they announced like 5 different Assassin's Creed games, or like code names for projects and all this stuff. It's like, wasn't this the whole point of switching paths with Origins and whatever? Like, it's very strange to me. But there is one game, and it's probably the game internally they could care less about, but for the Netflix game Valiant Hearts 2, which used the art, I don't know if the new one's going to use that same engine or an equivalent. I'm sure it'll be a similar art style, but I love that game. That was really good, and I just wish they'd go back to making some more unique games like that.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, they have that stuff. There's all these other games at Ubi that are in some form of development. Like Beyond Good and Evil 2 has been floating around for so many years. Prince of Persia remake, which just got delayed, given to another team. They didn't show anything here. There's like the Splinter Cell remake or whatever that's in development. Like there's all this stuff, but like it's just like not, I guess not ready to show. But then you got to think like, why are these games taking so long? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's weird. And Trackmania seems to be something that's must have a community of people playing because they always talk about it, and Riders Republic, but I don't know, it's purely anecdotal, but I've never heard of a single person that plays these. In most games, I'll run into someone's like, oh yeah, I play that, or have you tried this? And I'm like, no, but okay, people do play it. These games they're talking about, not a peep from anyone I've ever met.
Well, I was looking at the Trackmania like end title card, and one of the platforms was Luna, and I was like, "What the fuck is Luna?" And I had to look it.
Well, that's the Amazon one, right?
Yeah, that's the Amazon one. I totally forgot that even existed. And I can't believe they would even take the time to put it on that thing. But
I'll be honest, I didn't know it to forget it.
Yeah,
I didn't know that's what it was called.
I actually tried it out like a couple months ago because it's available through Prime, but like it was, I thought the lag was pretty bad on it.
Well, and I guess the last thing I'll say, the Just Dance. Was anyone else like fucking freaked out or creeped out by the
yeah? That was a really
look
weird...
of the people in that. Like, I got flashbacks to being scared of like the Muppets when I was 5, or like that freaked me to, or the War Amps robot. Like I was scared, and I'm a grown man now.
Yeah, for a franchise that is supposed to be family friendly, super welcoming, it was a very weird way to promote it. I mean, this series does make a ton of money. I do know people who play this game, but
yeah, that one I've heard of, and I've heard of people play. But
Just Dance is big in the schools. I mean, that's like part of their routine for their morning whatever movement thing is they put on Just Dance videos. Yeah, for people to do. Yeah, they don't actually play the game.
You're getting that education bank?
They just put on like a YouTube video of a song, and the kids dance along to it. That's their like movement
from the game Just Dance, or just any
from
song?
From the game Just.
So they're stealing Just Dance content for classrooms?
Oh yeah,
this is a scandal.
Well, it does make you wonder, like, why do you need the game when you could just watch the YouTube video?
Especially without Kinect and motion controls. Like, how do they register the dancing in these games?
I don't think
anymore?
they do. I don't think they do. But...
like, that's fucked. Let's be honest. That's fucked.
Before we get into the Assassin's Creed stuff, they did show Rocksmith Plus, which I thought is a pretty cool program in general. You know, if you want to learn how to play an instrument, or I guess it's just guitar, right? So if you want to learn how to play the guitar, it's a pretty cool program, I think, and probably a great way to learn guitar, to be honest.
But I haven't tried any of these. I want to, but probably too old. I'm too close to dying to learn guitar. But there are a lot of interactive guitar programs now, whether it's on phone, computer. Guitar manufacturers have their own proprietary learning services when you buy their guitar. Like, I don't know how much this sticks out compared to, like, it's a big market of guitar learning tools out there. I get ads for them all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Rocksmith is known, like it's a name, but it's been a few years since the last one came out. I was actually interested in trying this one. It's kind of like randomly my dad had a guitar he was getting rid of.
You need a special cable though.
He had the cable. Oh, okay. And I was like, oh cool, yeah, I'll take that. But then like he had the game, but like he had already put it on his Steam account or something weird. So then I saw this coming out. Yeah, my dad.
Your dad has Steam?
Well, I think I remember helping him set it up at some point, and I think he tried it like once and was like, yeah, I can't figure this shit out. But so then I saw this coming out and I was like, oh, I should try this, but it's a subscription service and I don't even think they have like a free trial period or anything. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to drop like $50 or whatever the hell it is just to sign up and then find out I don't like it or I suck or whatever. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious, but it's the subscription thing sucks.
Yeah, I think Rocksmith will remain a curiosity for me. So let's get into the Assassin's Creed stuff. You know, I really took it to The Last of Us with their like self-importance of that franchise and the humility and this franchise is so important to so many people. But I gotta say, this took it to another level, trying to make something sound more important than it actually is. And I'm gonna start with the first thing. Did it not sound like when they said 15 that they were saying it really quickly to make it almost sound like 50? Like, it's been around for 15 years. It's huge. It's been around, like, if you didn't know that it's only been 15 years old, you're like, oh, it's 50 years old. I'm not going into conspiracy mode, but there was something weird about the way they were saying 15, trying to get some 50 bump, big time. But either way, you know, we go in, it's like a half an hour at least, it might have been more, of just announcement after announcement about Assassin's Creed. The most relevant one, I think, is that Mirage, which was already leaked, I think, or had come out. That's coming out next year. And I didn't realize this right when they announced it. By the end of the show, I finally put it all together when they did that nice little roadmap of where Assassin's Creed is going. And it was... Mirage is not a full Assassin's Creed game. It's almost a throwback to the original Assassin's Creeds, like that style, which I don't hate. But when I watched the video for Mirage, I was like, this looks like Assassin's Creed 2, and not in a good way. It looks like a similar type of location, gameplay. So I'm sure there's people that are asking for more of a classic Assassin's Creed game. So I think it's servicing those audiences. But it did not look all that exciting.
Didn't Assassin's Creed 2 take place in Istanbul or something like that?
Yeah, no, it's not the exact same location, but like
similar. No, but I mean, it's still Middle Eastern kind of location.
Yeah, there's vibes. And they even, I think, addressed that in the video.
Yeah, they definitely were leaning into that. Which, you know, for me personally, and like I have not really gotten into that many Assassin's Creed games, but I'm actually more interested in the more recent ones they did. I'm not as interested in the old ones, so I'm kind of, I don't know, this doesn't do much for me. But the thing that I found strange, and I mean, I'm not big on history. I'm not an expert, but like it seemed odd because I think that the character is from Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but it's a prequel and it's set in Baghdad. And I was like trying to like in my head line that up, and it just seemed very odd. But I assume,
yeah, I mean, I assume they would figure it out because it's like everyone will be fact checking that. They have to know that. Yeah, I don't think they can take that big of a liberty, but I'm sure there's a reason, which they might have. I don't know if that was in an article I saw after, or it was in the presentation. They alluded to that. But then code names for what they called premium flagship titles. And I think they said something about 150 hour plus RPGs. Like, that's a good thing. And it was codename Red, which is their Japanese open world game, which I admit 7 years ago, if you had said we're doing an Assassin's Creed in Japan, I would have been like, that's amazing. That sounds awesome. Samurais, all that, I would have been in. But now we're 6 or at least one truly open world game in Japan. It feels like a little late to be announcing this, and it's not even showing anything. It's like it's coming out in 2 years. So not to say I won't play it, but how did I not predict this? Like they're so lazy with ideas and just following trends that this should have been the most obvious thing to guess in the world, that would be the next big Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. I can't get over the like cheesiness of the commentary and how fake it was though in the like presentation leading up to this. Like, I have a few quotes here, and like I just had to write them down because they're just so bad. And like, that's big news. Like, come on, that's big news. Who would say that in their own conference about their own product.
You're selling your own product a little too hard.
And then they're like interviewing a guy in obviously a gigantic like CG heavy like soundstage. Love what you've done with the place. Okay, really? You're gonna pull that one out? And then they're like getting ready to show the trailer, and he's like, "I think we could watch it now." Yes, here it is. What?
Yeah,
Why are you saying?
I don't know. There was this kind of like somewhat ironic, cynical, comedic vibe, but at the same time, they are playing up the self-importance of this franchise, which just made for a strange thing overall. And I kind of felt bad for like interviewing the developers and have it like, again, making these games seem way more important than they actually are. I guess there was another premium flagship title announced for the far future, which was codename Hex, which had a cool logo. I actually liked the logo and like Blair Witchy type of thing they were doing there.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the vibe I got. I don't like, they said it was going to be a big shift, so maybe it's an Assassin's Creed horror game. I don't know. That
sounds kind of cool. That feels like, okay, that's the type of new idea that I'd like to see in a series like this. And they also announced some TV show stuff with, I don't care, and a mobile Assassin's Creed codenamed Jade, which is China, I think. And in thinking about like a smaller scale Assassin's Creed, like that was kind of a neat idea. And they teased the idea of climbing the Great Wall of China or doing stuff on that. That's kind of a better hook than any of the other stuff I heard in this presentation.
Yeah, there was one other thing that they mentioned right at the end, and I think this had been announced before, and I'm still confused what the heck it is. Assassin's Creed Infinity. So
this is
the hub.
It's
a unifying hub for all Assassin's Creed experience.
But like, is that all it is? Like, I don't understand. Like, they also mentioned something about multiplayer, and I didn't quite understand if that was a separate thing or if that was part of this.
How I view this, and there's probably equivalents. It's Halo Master Chief Collection, or how Call of Duty now, when you buy a new one, it just has one menu and you can switch between all the installed versions you have. And I think this is going to have the multiplayer component is going to be part of that. And then if you've bought and installed other Assassin's Creed games, you launch them from one place, and they will probably have some type of shared rewards like Ubiplay stuff, which Ubisoft's been pushing those ecosystems and communities forever. They don't work. No one cares. It's just annoying when I have to log into it and get separate pop-ups, and I don't get it. But that's what that is. It's just launching a bunch of games from one spot, would be my guess.
Yeah, it says it's compared to the Animus itself.
Oof.
It's described as a hub that will unite all of our experiences and our players together in meaningful ways.
I agree. A good comparison is the Animus. It's the part of Assassin's Creed I don't care about and I wish would go away.
I guess, like if they could figure out, and if this somehow means that there could be co-op, like I think they've only done co-op in one or two Assassin's Creed games before, and I don't think it worked that well, but it could be kind of interesting. I don't know if they could go back and add it to previous games. I don't know what that means, but yeah.
No chance. Let's not get crazy. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say about the Ubisoft thing.
And they were pushing their Netflix partnership quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Does nothing for me. All right. Are we going to give this a letter grade?
Well, you did forget one thing, which was probably the best thing they showed in the entire presentation. Mythic Quest Season 3. That was the only thing I actually was excited about.
I mean, I was going to watch that anyway, so...
Yeah.
I actually made me less excited to watch it the way they tried to hype it up for gamers. Like, this is the show for gamers. Don't tell me what to watch. Don't tell me what I'm going to like. Stop trying to think you're so cool. I'll decide what I'm gonna. You just give me your content, and I'll decide if it's good enough for me to play. Ubi, don't try to force it down my fucking throat. All right, we done. Now you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Now I got a nice bit of stank ready for this letter grade. I'm giving it a forward F.
Okay. I mean, it's tough because
because I want to say we don't give. Is it a thing now where you don't give E's? I would give it an E, but I feel like people just skip E's now. It goes A, B, C, D, F.
No point in having E.
Because E for effort is,
E for excellent.
Yeah.
F for failure.
Yeah.
It's like a D. I don't know. Like these games are just not my thing. But if you are into Assassin's Creed, you probably would be excited about some of this stuff. So
this is your letter grade, not a hypothetical person on the internet.
Again, it's in terms of stuff they showed and things they announced, there was some cool stuff, but a lot of it was just like a concept, a screenshot, not a lot of gameplay for sure for any of that.
Well, Sean, I expect to see you swapping out cannons on pirate ships in the near future.
Well, I like the F train. I'm going all the way down.
Okay.
Oh, did they? No, it was just the Disney thing where they talked about the Avatar game, right?
I think so.
That was something I was expecting to see in there too.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know why they wouldn't.
Which I am actually excited for. I think it has potential. I'm not super excited for it. I think it'll probably end up being not good, but it could be good. That could be a good game. All right, we're going to blow through the D23 showcase. Almost nothing was a big deal. Probably the thing I was most intrigued by was a Gargoyles remastered, even though I didn't play Gargoyles, but...
Is this like series coming back or something? Like, why would this game be getting remastered?
Because people love buying old games remastered.
Okay, I guess so. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's a new show or anything.
Okay, I didn't think there was, and I thought it was kind of weird the timing. But I mean, I guess Turtles came back and made a splash. So
apparently, there's a new ongoing comic series called Gargoyles Season 4 that's going to continue the story. So there's something to build on, I guess.
All right.
Yeah, there were
two onto something there, Huck, for sure.
Okay, good.
There were two things that I thought were kind of cool.
I assume one is a game that they just announced.
Yeah, so the Black Panther Captain America game concept is very cool. Reminds me of what was that game? The Saboteur, I think it was called.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it reminded me of that. I made a note of that as well. Yeah, Saboteur.
Yeah, which World War II kind of sneaking around and fucking with Nazis. So I mean that would be pretty cool, I think. And it is Amy Hennig that's working on this. So
yeah, that was a great idea that I'm excited to play that game for sure. But am I missing something? Did they not even give a title for the game?
They did not.
No title.
I'm excited for that game too, but not a lot to go on at this point.
It's probably years off at this point.
Yeah. But it does sound good. They also announced another Avatar game, I think for mobile, Avatar Reckoning, an MMORPG shooter.
Oh, yeah.
Not that
an MMO?
Say. They said MMORPG shooter, which is
really
a weird way to classify a game.
Yep.
I wrote it down because I was like, what? But just in general, so many of these games are like for games that already exist that I didn't know they even existed. And it's like, this is coming to Mirrorverse, to Dreamlight Valley. And I thought they were new things. I'm like, no, they're already out. No one plays them that I know of. And even though I was kind of looking at at least the art was kind of neat. And there's always kind of a bump to reimagining Disney properties and new art styles, kind of the way Disney Infinity did it. It's like, okay, let's take Disney and kind of unify them in this this graphical language. Like, the way a Funko takes a concept and maps it onto a Funko. We're going to take all these properties and unify them through an art style. I always like that kind of stuff, but I don't think the gameplay was enough to get me going on any of these.
Yeah, so that Dreamlight Valley, did that just get added to Game Pass recently? I feel like
yes, it did. Yeah,
there
a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
Okay, but so it's been out for a while. It's just new to Game Pass, though.
Yeah, but another thing, talking about this after Ubi, if I was Ubi, I'd be shitting my pants because like they're pushing mobile and free to play stuff and games as a service type things, and Disney is just starting to do this stuff. It's almost like Disney Plus versus Netflix. They have IPs that people, no matter how shitty the game is, they will try it or potentially get into the ecosystem. Like the Marvel Snap, I wasn't interested, but it looked kind of cool. And if I played those types of games and I liked Marvel, I would play that game or at least try it. I downloaded Mirrorverse and literally played it for 10 seconds. And I was like, I'm out. As I had to use the touch screen as a controller, and it was like Diablo Immortal. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I thought it was going to be something else. And then a Niantic Marvel game, like taking Pokemon and doing Marvel with it, I'm not interested, but I can definitely see people wanting to do that. So
oh yeah,
they can just, if anyone has the ability to take these free to play or service games and make them marketable, it's Disney. So all these other companies should be terrified if that's what their business model is.
Yeah, they've got a lot of properties that they could apply to a lot of games. I'm surprised they haven't done more.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of these things are CG trailers. This was no exception. But again, they do CG trailers really well. Like they actually make interesting and compelling CG trailers.
So the other game that I was excited about, you're going to guess, Frank?
Well, Illusion Island, I know it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because that's the only one I was excited about.
Yeah, you were talking about the lack of Ubi art stuff coming from Ubisoft, but this had a little bit of, was reminding me a bit of that.
And it kind of takes something I talked about already, taking Disney and putting it in a different art style or unifying an art style. I didn't love the art style. I didn't hate it either. It's kind of angular, vectory type Disney art, but the gameplay looked good. And, you know, it's a platformer. Reminded me of Rayman Legends or something like that. So I'm excited for that game.
And I think the art style is based on, there was a more recent like series of Mickey Mouse shorts that I think is on Disney Plus. I think that's kind of what it's based on. But Huck, what was the other thing you were excited about?
I was surprisingly interested in Disney Speedstorm, which basically just looked like a exact Mario Kart ripoff, but I'm kind of interested to see if they do anything different or just basically take Mario Kart and see what they add to it, because I think Mario Kart has still kind of perfected that formula, and this literally looked like Mario Kart.
Yeah, I mean, how hard can it be to copy Mario Kart? And then you've got kids who love Disney that are going to play it, to play as those characters. Man, Disney, I'm scared to think of where Disney is in 10 years. It literally could be terrifying. They could take over the world.
It's kind of smart of them too to basically take the best games in each of their genres that they want and then just put the Disney facade over top of it.
Yeah.
Like, they're not trying to do anything new. They're literally just like, hey, Mario Kart sold 25 bajillion copies. Let's do that with Disney characters. And it's probably going to sell a lot of copies. And the same with, like, you know, the Niantic Heroes game or whatever. Same with this Marvel Snap game. Like, they're just taking games that already exist and slapping Disney products on it. Like, it will work. Quite smart. Yeah, it will work. It will work perfectly.
And they have money to fuck around with too if they don't.
Yeah.
So.
Well, just think the game production doesn't take that much because they literally are copying. So then they can take tons of money and just put it into marketing, and you will see ads for these games everywhere, and kids then will download them.
What was this Tron Identity? and by Bithell Games.
Oh yeah, that
I think they just
kind of
said it exists. Did they actually show any gameplay anywhere? I think
I don't think so. My note is no idea what it is.
It's a visual novel game. I think they did have a trailer, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was just like a.
There is one that was released
trailer,
1 week away, 1 week ago on IGN. Apparently,
Yeah, it's like an announcement thing. It's like 30 seconds long, I think.
Last thing, why is Return to Monkey Island in this showcase? Is that because they bought LucasArts or something like that?
Yeah, it is, I guess, a LucasArts property. I don't like it's not developed, well, because I guess LucasArts as a development house doesn't exist anymore, right? It's just kind of a name that they slap on stuff. But at one point, it was a LucasArts property, so I guess so. Did anybody, you know what? There was that new Aliens game. And there
Which
was
we
a
had seen
trailer.
before.
We'd seen like a brief clip of like 5 seconds of gameplay, maybe, but there was an actual trailer, and I don't think I even watched it.
I saw
You
what
guys
was
watch
in
it?
the Disney showcase, and it was really underwhelming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I saw that they kind of clarified that it's like a real-time strategy type thing.
Oh, that's probably why it looked worse. I thought it was going to be a top-down shooter like The Ascent, and now I'm even less interested.
Yeah, me too.
Your words sullied this game. At least if I thought it was a different genre, I might have still had it on my radar. Okay. There was Midnight Sun stuff, whatever. We're done. Let's give a letter grade. I'm giving it the big D. Disney D.
I mean, I didn't actually watch this one, so I can't judge the actual flow of the showcase, but in terms of announcements, I'm going to give it a D+.
I'm going to give it a D as well. I think that is a good grade for this one. Not much here, but
If anything, I
some
might, like,
interest.
if I was feeling really generous, I might give them a C. Or if I was Sean and I'm like thinking of someone who loves Disney, what they would think of this thing, I might give them a C or a C plus because, you know, to be fair, they're not into games. This is like something they threw together, and the fact that it was a little
This
more,
is the first one they've done, right?
Yeah, it
I'm
was
assuming they'll do more, but
it was a little more interesting than like reputable game companies who've been making games for decades, and they actually were comparable. At least as some form of achievement. So
yeah.
I am truly scared of where Disney is going. It's not going to be good for any of us. Anyway, anything? Can we get into what we played? Jesus, we're like an hour and 22.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, do you want to save stuff or like?
Look, you were the one. I don't want to peel back the curtain too far. I got to talk about Immortality. I got to get it off my chest.
Well, I didn't know if we were waiting for you to finish it or.
I did, bud. When you say
Oh, okay.
shit like that, you think I don't go and beat it right away?
I didn't know. I saw you were playing Hades today, and I thought you were still.
I got lots of
Plugging
games
away
in
there.
my life.
Okay, well,
I literally just, we had talked in the car that I was close, or based on how you get the credits to roll. I started the game up, credits rolled, 5 minutes. I was that close to beating it the first time, or whatever beating it is.
okay, well, yeah, we should talk about it. I mean, I just a quick update. I did get my Steam Deck, but I'll talk more about that next week then. But yeah, so we all rolled credits on Immortality, and I really liked it. I kind of like. It took me a while. You were kind of excited about it when you first talked about it, Frank. And it took me a while to get to that point where I was like, okay, I know what Frank's talking about now. Like, it kind of happened for me. You mentioned that there's a certain point you got chills.
I did get chills, and I said the reason why the reviews are so high, I guarantee you read some of those reviews and they say they got chills.
Right.
Did you get chills?
I did. I definitely did. And, you know, so just, I guess maybe we'll do some we'll do non-spoiler, and then at the end we'll talk spoilers. But, so it's a full motion video game. Sam Barlow's done a few of these before. I think, so I don't actually know if I played Telling Lies. I know I tried Her Story, and I kind of, it was a little too aimless for me. But I think the difference between that and this game is that game felt more like you were a detective. You had this, at least a purpose that you were trying to get to the bottom of sort of a mystery. And that's kind of leading your investigation into all this database of videos that you're kind of pouring through. So this is there's an actress that has made 3 movies, and you've got all the footage of her 3 movies, and you're able to go through and watch them. I don't know that it even tells you at the beginning, like, why am I watching these? What am I looking for? Like, it doesn't give you that. And so,
I was going to say, unless you read, like, the description of the game that says, like, basically, find out what happened to her, you wouldn't know what you were supposed to do in this game.
Yeah. So
or what you were doing.
I feel like it is missing a little something right off the top there. But then I started watching these clips, and I would say, there's like 3 movies. One is kind of like I kind of want to say it's almost like a Hammer horror film mixed with like a...
I'd say it's kind of a giallo, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of, I guess. And then there's the second one is almost
maybe
like
the second one's more like that. Sorry.
Yeah. That makes more sense. The second one kind of reminded me of like a Polanski film or something. And then the third one, kind of like a David Lynch film, maybe. I don't know what else I would describe it as. But so I just started watching these clips, and I was like...
Maybe Inland Empire?
Yeah. But like it kind of... I was impressed with the quality of the clips. Like I thought, recreating the era that each of these films was in, the acting, the quality of the acting, I thought it was all pretty impressive, like among the best I've seen for full motion video in games. And then you start to see that these clips, sometimes you get bits of like, they call cut, and then something happens afterwards, and there's like a discussion among the cast and crew. There's some things where there's like talk show footage or like news footage about the movie or something. Sometimes you've got like behind the scenes stuff. Yeah. And so then you're starting to piece together more of like what was actually happening between these people as they're making the movie. And I thought that was a really creative way of like slowly putting together this behind the scenes story of what's going on. So I actually started just enjoying watching the clips. And so then started getting into that. You kind of get to the point where you start seeing weird things happening in the footage, and I thought that was really effective. And then I guess, I started hitting some achievements, started getting to some of the reveals, and then there was a point where I was like, okay, I feel like I'm close to the end. What do I do? And then it was like another hour of like just clicking through videos, and I started to not enjoy just watching them for watching them, and I just wanted to get to the end, and that was a bit frustrating. So that was kind of my experience with the game. Like I still thought it was a really cool experience overall, but slow to start and then a bit frustrating at the end is what I would say.
I mean, I'd go back to the chill thing, and all my criticisms... while the chill is the high point, it takes too long to get to the chill, and once you get the chill, you never get another one. It's like, I'm like, it never hits that moment again, and I certainly didn't find the videos, like they're well done, but I don't really care what's going on in them, especially when my new motive is to find things in them, not to actually watch them, and to click through them. So, and when I would get achievements about finding out what actually happened to a certain person, I was like, I don't know what happened to them. Like I really wasn't paying attention. So part of that's on me. But when you start, giving subversive elements within what you're doing, I start to also disregard what I'm watching. I'm thinking about the sub game, not the main game. So yeah. I don't know. I liked it. I am kind of perplexed by the praise the game is getting.
Yeah, I felt basically the exact same as you. I had the chill moment dampened for myself because I cheated. I read your post, Frank, because I was getting frustrated. I was like, what is going on here? Like, I'm watching all these videos and I'm not getting it. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I don't feel like I never got to the point where Sean's talking about, where I feel like the story is progressing. I never felt like the story was progressing. I felt like I was literally just watching 3 movies in chopped up order, and like, some casting things, some, what do you call it, like practice things. And I'm like, I don't get it. What am I doing? And so I was like, I've had enough. Like, screw it. I'm just going to ruin this for myself. So when it did happen, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But then, like you were saying, Frank, then you just start like searching for more of those type moments. And like, that's all I was doing. And I almost felt like I felt bad, because obviously they put all this time into making these scenes. And all I'm doing is like, so you could scrub through the videos at various speeds, and all I'm doing is scrubbing through the videos at like pretty high rates of speed. I'm not even really paying attention to what's going on in them, like you were saying, Frank. And I'm just like quickly going through and seeing if anything catches my eye or whatever. And it's just like, so I felt like I can't even imagine how much time it took to film all these scenes, and I'm not even paying a lick of attention to them. It's so wrong in that regard.
I know it's not elegant, but I feel like I could have benefited from some HUD elements or menus of like which parts I've exhausted, how I connected things, something to help me, especially when I put the game down for a while, to come back and kind of like, what do I still need to do? What videos have I exhausted? Which ones haven't I exhausted? And, I know the deal with this developer's games are it's kind of an exploratory format. And some people dig that. I don't like it all that much. I don't dislike it either, but it doesn't have, implanted mechanisms and reward hooks to kind of keep me coming back and to keep me engaged. So it's a cool idea. It achieves something unique within a game, but that's not enough for me.
So I can't remember about Telling Lies, but in her story, you were able to like add notes or tags or something to each video as you watch them, so you could kind of put your own customized organization onto it, which was kind of nice. And so you would know, like, if you watch something. Whereas in this one, I had a really hard time kind of like placing everything in the timeline. So they have like a timeline that is purely by date, and I think one that is grouped by movie.
Sequence in the films.
Sequence in the films. Okay. So even that, like, I didn't totally get, and you can sort of like heart, like, or track certain.
You can favorite them.
Yeah, favorite them, which was kind of helpful for some of it, kind of in the beginning. But after a while, I didn't do that at all. Once you kind of know the trick, so to speak, then you don't really need to do that thing anymore, because you could kind of just quickly look through all the things. Yeah,
and it's a little weird, like the discovery element. I didn't play it on a console. I wish I did, because I feel like having Rumble would have helped me.
Yes. I think so
huge. Too. I also played on PC.
Yeah, and like, I mean, the sound cues help a bit, but if it's a discovery element, the fact that you have to put Rumble in it to show you when it is.
That does change things quite a bit, I think. Maybe that's why it was seemed a little bit more straightforward for me, but like, you're watching something and you get this rumble in the controller and a little bit of like a background hum, or like just something sort of like a sound effect, and it definitely, you notice it and you're like, okay, something is in this clip. And I guess, maybe in spoilers we can get more into the specifics of how you kind of reveal some of the hidden stuff, but part of the problem was I was always just watching the clips. Mostly, I was actually watching them, and so I would usually just go from the start of the clip to the end of the clip, watch it, and then I was like, okay, move on, or click on something. Right?
I just wish there was, like, for each video, if I highlighted over it, it would give me a bar, because when you connect to them, you don't know at what point you connect to them, right? So I just want to know, I want to see if I've seen a portion of a video, even if they had a way of saying, like, if it's a white section of the video.
I don't know if we explained
almost
that
like
well.
a peer-to-peer tracker. Okay, do you know what I mean? And like when you're filling in chunks, I wish it had like an indicator for a chunk you've watched at full speed, at different speeds, so you could go back and fill in gaps that you haven't filled. Because if I was an editor, which is the premise for this, I would be keeping track of that stuff. I almost wish if you established a connection, you could hit backspace and go back to where you were really quickly instead of taking me to the new video. I just wanted some... It didn't match at least my particular thought process for this. It was taking me places I didn't want to go, but I have to, otherwise I got to go back and re-click on the same thing. Like it just didn't have a nice flow of doing this stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if we totally explained this well, but when Frank says like you connect to the different videos, like basically you're watching a video and you can click on anything in it, which I think you did mention, Sean. But then when you click on it, it takes you to another scene that whatever you clicked on also exists in, basically. But that could be at any point.
But you don't know what it's linking by. It could be similar items, similar people. That also, the connection element is a little too loose for me.
Yeah. And also it takes you to any point in that video where that thing is. So you could be, a third of the way through the video. You could be near the end. You could be right at the beginning. Who knows? So you do have to like try to pay attention to where that is. I would usually go somewhere and then hit the button that basically takes you right back to the beginning and then play from there.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
And if this was the some editing suite that had been constructed for you to go through, you would be able to know, like you'd see a timeline. These are digital videos. You'd be able to know you're at minute 130 of a 3-minute video and be able to get feedback like that this game is abstracting. And I don't know why it abstracts it. I don't think it helps anything. And the information is all there in the game. So maybe it makes it look uglier. It's not as elegant, I think, like I said before, but I would have preferred the functionality.
Yeah, the mechanic that, clicking through to other videos, it's good and it's bad. Like I liked that idea of like I found myself hunting in videos for... Like you can reveal a lot of stuff just by clicking on actors' faces, or I think title cards at the beginning take you to lots of different things. But like sometimes you'd hunt, or at least I would hunt for certain objects and just, find something. And then there was sort of a thrill of like, oh, if I click on that, what's going to happen? And sometimes, that would reveal a new clip. But particularly towards the end, when you're close, there's just one or two clips you're missing that you haven't been able to get to yet, and it's like it's random, right? So it's like you can click on like a window, it'll take you to another scene with a window, but it's not always this clip takes you to that clip. Could be any other clip with a window. So like sometimes you got to do that multiple times to get something, and that is a bit frustrating.
I mean, it's the antithesis of what this developer is going for, but it is too open-ended. I want some rigidity in the rules of this game, and that's what makes it appealing, but it also is why certain people won't like it.
Yeah.
If you love like figuring this story out for yourself, I could see you loving this game. I do like the visual style of the 3 movies. I think that's kind of neat, and they pull it off relatively well. And the performances are good. I think all that stuff for video games is top notch. I just don't know if it's all that much fun.
Yeah, I mean, it is more of an experience than a game, I guess. But I did really like the experience, and it's just like, story-wise, thematically, I thought there was some interesting stuff there. I only got, like, there's some things I haven't revealed, so I don't even know if I fully know all the story. But maybe we can touch on that in spoilers. Yeah, not too much else to say. It is something that stuck with me, though, too, weirdly. Like, I was still thinking about it afterwards, and I think part of it is just that experience of, like you mentioned, Frank, that you kind of only got the chills once, or at least subsequent times didn't live up to that for you, but a lot of them worked for me. Like multiple moments worked for me, and something about that is very memorable. So that alone, I thought it was worth it, and it's pretty short, I guess, if you play through it in a way that is efficient, I suppose.
I think it took me like 7 hours, actually, like quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think how long to beat says it's like 5, so it wasn't that long for me, which is probably why I was getting frustrated. But maybe the rumble thing really made it take a lot longer because I didn't have that with the mouse and keyboard.
Well, the game, we can talk about it in spoiler, but the game tries to set you up for the first time you make this discovery, and I don't even think it's done that well.
No. But I really enjoyed the last like hour once it really starts like revealing the story to you, like the kind of like the behind the scenes story kind of thing, and unlocking kind of like what happened to the actress. I enjoyed that part, but for me, like the 6 hours before that, there's a lot of frustration in there. So I would say like there was like 3 hours of me trying to figure out what the hell I'm supposed to do. Then there was like 3 hours of me just trying to click on everything to try to find out how to get the next scenes to progress the story, and then an hour of me actually like enjoying it. So I would say I was a little let down. I still think her story is the best one that he's done. I would probably put this second, and I'd probably put Telling Lies third, I think, if I were to rate them all.
Yeah, it definitely made me want to go back to her story, so maybe I will. But I did also, I mean, this, maybe we'll talk about this in spoilers too, but the very end it was very frustrating for me. I don't know if you guys had that same experience, but like the sort of the end game moment where I thought the game was bugged, basically.
I didn't have that same issue. Well, maybe one, probably because you warned us about it. But also, I think I don't think I would have got stuck there either, just because of how I was manipulating the videos in general.
Yeah, there's a specific thing that you have to do, which I was not using throughout the game. And yeah, I thought the game was locked up.
I didn't do that.
No?
I don't think I did. Maybe we'll talk about it. I don't remember doing what you're talking about.
Okay. Okay. Any other non-spoiler stuff then?
Nope. Okay.
Are we giving star ratings for this thing?
No.
Okay.
Not an official review. If you want to, you can. Don't let me stop you.
I mean, it's like a 4-star for me, but it's, it hovers between 4 and 4.5 because of the fact that it stuck with me. So.
Well, that's pretty high. I would probably give it lower. I'd probably give it like a 3. I still liked it, but definitely wouldn't play it again.
Yeah.
I will abstain. So put it. Do you want to do it now or put it at the end of the show? Spoiler stuff. I don't know if we've ever done spoiler material on Game Junk before. This is unprecedented territory.
Well, we've done it for reviews, but
yeah.
I mean, yeah,
it's not an official review.
We can wait till the very end, I guess. I don't really have any other what I played this week, so go ahead.
I don't have anything else for what we played. We got to shut this shit down.
Yeah, I'm done. I don't want to talk anymore.
Okay.
So check us out on youtube.com/GameJunk. Sean is on Twitter at FilmJunk. Andrew is MindGreeCommute and Equilibrium Sys. And next week, who knows? I don't think there's any... Maybe some Tokyo Game Show stuff coming up. Sean will be talking about his Steam Deck and how much he's been playing it and how much he's just been rebuying things.
Yeah.
And maybe some other news. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Okay, spoilers for Immortality. I'll be honest, I don't have a lot to say, but let's get into the end moment, because I don't even know what we're talking about. So this is when the face takes over all of the...
Yes.
Oh, really? I thought we were talking before that. With the chair fire scene.
No.
No. Well, because weirdly, that was actually the second... So there's like 4... what happened to so and so.
characters.
Four main characters, and there's 4 video clips where you find out what really happened to these people. And the second one I got was actually the one you're talking about, Huck, but it definitely feels like that is supposed to be the last one you find.
Okay, I got that third, and I have not found the fourth.
The fourth one is impossible. I literally was following a guide to do it, and I still can't unlock it.
Okay.
Yeah, I read something afterwards, and it seemed extremely hidden, more than the other ones. But you find 3 of the 4, you get the credits. And so what happens is after you watch that clip, that third clip, you go back to the grid of all the videos, and all of a sudden they start forming into a face. And once that happens, once the whole grid is taken over,
as you traverse each square of the...
Yeah, you have to go over all the
clips.
squares.
Yeah.
And once that happens, you can't, like, your controls are completely locked, with the exception of the right thumbstick, which zooms out. And I had never really used that zoom function.
Okay, that didn't happen to me on PC.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if I was struggling and I just like was trying everything maybe, and I would always zoom in and out with the scroll wheel on that, and maybe I just didn't even realize it. Or what happens if you're already scrolled out all the way? Like
I always kept it scrolled out almost all the way. I didn't like having it zoomed in, so it's possibly I was just default to zoom out. I didn't know that's what you were talking about. I thought you were talking about the fire chair scene.
So what happened with you then with the fire chair?
So with the fire chair, let's back up and say the trick? The trick is that if you watch these videos backwards, it unlocks these secret scenes basically that show you like the quote unquote real story, what really happened kind of thing. And
isn't it just that there are these other beings controlling or taking over these bodies?
Yeah.
Yes. So they are the immortals. They are immortality. And I believe it's supposed to be Mother Mary and Satan. Or
There's
Lucifer.
lots of different impersonations. Or
interpretations.
Long COVID's got me. It's got me.
Well, I would say the one is pretty obviously supposed to be Lucifer, but I guess it depends on who the girl's supposed to be. But I thought it was Mary.
The version I read was two of the original muses from Greek. One is just a good and an evil others, like a universal Adam and Eve or good and evil, which is kind of, you're getting at the same thing, but there's nothing official about any of this stuff. It's just
wasn't Lucifer the one in the Garden of Eden with the snake and the apple who
I think
convinced her to eat the apple?
I think the game is alluding to the fact that those like immortal beings, which could be gods, I guess, are of what we've implanted our mythos and whatever onto as for the reason.
I see.
There is, like, I don't know if you guys saw this, but one of the talk show sequences, if you watch that backwards, starts to interview the female immortal.
I think that's the very first clip.
That's the first one. That's the thing I was talking about. That's the first clip you get. You have to watch it. And the reason they give you that is because that one changes in the actual screen. So at some point, if you're not finding this stuff, the actual frozen image on that changes to be her, so that it makes you.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure. Unless I got that accidentally by rewinding it, I'm pretty sure the game starts like you, because it makes you watch that video. That's the first video you watch. Mm-hmm. So by doing that, it knows that you'll recognize something is off with that one at some point if you haven't found it yet. So
that wasn't the first one I watched.
That was the first one. I was like, oh, this is not the same person. So I clicked on it, and then I finally discovered all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember what the first one I found was, but like, you know, again, I think it took me a while because, like you're saying, Huck, you have to watch them backwards for the most part.
Oh, sorry. And that was the first video they show you in general, not of the like backwards way.
Correct. Right. You see a normal version of that video, her promoting the movie on a talk show, like a Johnny Carson knockoff, and then later, or maybe it replaced it it might not have been her on the freeze frame, but it was like an old version of that host, like he'd aged like 30 years that didn't make sense, and I'm like, this something's up with this video. Like it basically told you something's up in this particular video, and I just kept scrubbing it, and I think I heard the sounds, and I'm like, okay, that's when I got the first chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wasn't rewinding much because, like you were saying, Huck, I would just hit the button to go to the start and then watch it through. So I think that's why it took me a long time to even discover the first one of these.
Yeah, and for me, like, I started favoriting the ones where I would hear that, like, weird audio flourish. But what I was doing is when I would hear that audio flourish, I'd be like, does this happen? Like, I couldn't tell if it was just, like, background music or if it was actually, like, placed specifically in. So then I would rewind back to the very beginning or rewind at, like, full speed. And the backward clips only reveal if you're rewinding at, like, the first or second speed. If you go any higher than that, they just skip over top of it, and, like, as if you didn't find it. So I was like full speed backing up, and then playing those clips again, and being like, okay, there's definitely something happening here with this audio flourish at this specific time. So then I would favorite those videos. But until I read that, like, spoiler comment in the Discord, I had no idea. Like, it would have taken me probably another 2 hours to figure it out, because that's just not how I was approaching those clips. I was not going backwards slowly. I was just either going all the way back to the beginning with the back to the beginning button, or doing it very quickly past there. I mean, I probably would have stumbled on it eventually if I was, like, scrubbing back and forth in that. To
me, that's the failure of the game. The game does not teach you how to play the game. It teaches you the buttons and the controls. It doesn't put you in the right frame of mind, and it basically extends its length by making you figure out how you need to play this game. And that's going to vary on an individual basis. So that's where I kind of see it. Like, it can hide under this guise of, hey, it's an experience. It's not a game that's going to tell you what you need to do. You need to figure it out on your own. But I don't fully buy that completely. Yeah. That feels a little cheap to me.
Yeah. So going back to the fire chair, so the scene where the lead character dies, she gets set on fire in a chair. And when you rewind that video, it starts playing one of the hidden scenes, which then ends. And then you have to hit forward, which will then unlock another one playing. So it's kind of there's a few
sequences like that where you can go back and forth a bunch of times and it keeps going.
So you have to, it's kind of hard to describe, but basically when you're going backwards and unlock a new video, that video plays forwards, but the controls are as if it's still playing backwards, if that makes sense. So, like, if you were wanting to go forward, you actually have to hit backwards, and if you want to go backwards, you'd actually have to hit forwards. So then when you get to this part where it goes back and forth a few times, the controls kind of get mirrored a few times as you're doing it, which is like what I thought you were referring to, because I believe that was the first one I came across where that happened.
Okay. Yeah, that is a confusing thing.
I didn't notice any of this stuff. Like, I feel like I was just an equivalent of button mashing almost at this point. Like, that's the other criticism I have. Like, if it feels a bit button mashing-y and with the equivalent of arrow keys and scrubbing of, like, just try a bunch of stuff. It didn't feel like I was doing, like, a conscious, hey, I'm going to try this at 2 frame. Like, I'm just trying a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of just stumbled across
spaghetti to a wall and seeing what sticks. Like, it's not that exciting.
Yeah, see, it's weird. Like, there was points in the game where I felt like I was following clues, and I don't know if it was random or if I was actually following a path. But, like, you know, one of the things is there's a big time gap between the second film and the last film. Mm-hmm. So I was really concentrating on, like, the last clips from the second film and the first clips from the third film, because I thought there was stuff to fill in there, and there kind of isn't, but those clips are important, so that did lead me to some stuff.
I found it interesting that does kind of, like, point you to what the final answer is that basically she's, like, taken over by this immortal being or whatever, because in the first movie, or shortly after the first movie, I wrote it down, she was 20. And then the last movie takes place 30 years later, and she still looks like she's 20. So I was like, something weird's going on here with, like, obviously immortality. So it does lead you kind of towards that something like that is the final answer, but like the connection to get there is not made through gameplay in any way at all, really. It's kind of just like the story is just like magically found. And so is the last one that you guys couldn't find the woman that is taken over by the Lucifer character in the last movie? Is that the one you guys didn't find?
I think so. I think it's
her name's like Amy.
The other
something?
Actress.
Amy, yeah. I still can't find that one. And
okay, yeah. I didn't bother looking around for it, but I also couldn't find it.
No, it's like, it's really, I'm literally following a guide to how to get that achievement, and I still can't do it. So it's like it's basically an Inception scenario, like a rewind inside a rewind inside a rewind with very specific timing elements. I'm like, okay, I never would have found that. Don't really care. I mean, I think it's an okay game. Don't get me wrong. It's interesting. It's a cool idea. My big thing is, at least it's come down a bit. It was a 94 on Metacritic. Now it's an 88. Like, that praise is ridiculous. It's like kind of typical
really high.
Video game journalism stuff. Like, it's, it's different, so it's good kind of thing. And, games need certain rules and things to establish it. And there's fair criticisms against this game that I can't see how a game critic wouldn't have, that have nothing to do with like it being like a cool idea. So
yeah, I kind of like, I guess I don't agree that, like, I'm sure there's people out there that would criticize it and just say like, there's not much to do. There's no gameplay. Like, this isn't a game or something like that. And I don't agree with that, but as we've discussed, there are mechanics and things that it's just, depending on how you play it, you could take way longer and get a lot more frustrated. It doesn't hold your hand.
So what I'm commenting on is I'm willing to accept this game in its own self-defined version of a game, which is it's completely exploratory, right? That's how I'm evaluating it and criticizing it. Within that context, the things you're exploring and discovering are not at the same level, and they're not cohesive. If the goal is to kind of unlock a story, I'm really not. I'm kind of like just literally clicking dots and doing my best to piece something together. There's no revelations or discoveries like on a story level that really hit home with me, other than when you discover the gimmick for the first time, which I admit is cool, and there is something unique about discovering it yourself. That's what this game affords you. It's like, we're not going to tell you anything, so when you discover something, it's going to feel really good. But I wish the story had the same feeling as figuring out what the gimmick is. Because by the time you figure out what the gimmick is and then you use it, I'm like, okay, that wasn't that big of a deal. You kind of get it from the first video. The first time you find it, you feel like in the interview one, which is the one I got first, and I think most people, that would be the one they get first. There's some being, they've been here a long time, and they're implanted on these people that we're seeing as humans. That's it. You've got it all in that moment. There's details you might figure out, but there's not much else.
Yeah, for me, like, the story, I did like, because, to me, it was like one of the talk show things. They talk about how there was an accident in the second film. And you're like, okay, that's obviously important. What happened? And so you're kind of trying to get to that. And when you find that out, it's like, oh, okay, cool. And like, again, this whole idea, like, the game's called Immortality. These beings are immortal, but you're also dealing with film and a film star and the idea of like their legacy that they've left behind. Like, they're kind of, just by making movies, somebody kind of becomes immortal in that sense. So I thought the movie or the game was playing with some of those ideas in an interesting way.
Does the game establish why the main actress like disappears and no one can find them? I don't think is it alluding to the fact that this being teleports away from the body in and out or something like that? I don't think it really solves the mystery that it presents at the beginning, which is what happened to this person. like, I guess you find out how they ultimately die. You don't find out why they disappeared in between the movies or anything like that, to my knowledge.
There is some mention of that, like one of the beings does leave for a long time and then eventually comes back, and they mention like, oh, you couldn't stay away or something like that. I don't know. Like, I feel like I didn't get all the story pieces yet, but I kind of got some sense of that.
I thought you were going to have to like kind of highlight the secondary story footage stuff. I thought at some point you were going to have to assemble it in order and like be able to play it through and get like a version of the story, and it was going to give you a template of filling in gaps at some point, and like, oh, this is the parts you're missing. And by the time you play that out, it was going to be like extremely like profound. Like, you're getting fragments and seeing it all together. It might be a big deal, but I don't think I'll ever go back and do that, other than reading summaries on the internet.
That might be possible. Like, I know obviously there's achievements for unlocking all of the footage. And
you can't keep a track of all of it in your brain. Like, yeah. I need a way to make it mean
systematic
something.
Way.
If I can't make this story mean something, like, then why am I playing it? Other than to connect dots and click on things.
And there's no systematic way to actually know, like, how to have any idea what videos you're missing.
Yeah.
So you would literally have to just like, okay, I'm going to start at the oldest one I have, click everything that's available, and then go back to it, click.
But then you click on it and it takes you to another one. So then I got to back out, go back to, that's why I wanted a backspace button or something like that, to just go back to where I was, to be exhaustive. But the game doesn't want you to do that because it would be boring and literally just, a comb the desert scenario to this game. And it would probably be criticized more for encouraging that type of thing. So
I think you guys should both go back and try her story, because I think it does all the things you're complaining about much better. But the story, you could say, is not like wrapped up in a neat bow like it is in this one, or as neat of a bow as it is in this one. But that is kind of a good thing, actually. So I think the way they lead you through the story is much better. Much, much better.
I think in terms of like how there's the indicator for when something is going, like there's a second portion to any of the videos, I think they should have had a way of locking you in or telling you that something important is happening right now. I couldn't tell what was important versus what wasn't. Like a way of highlighting, pay attention to this. Like, so when I would get an achievement for like, oh, this, you just found out what happened to this person. I'm like, I didn't know. That's not a good sign. If I'm I can't be that invested in this game if I would just found out something huge and I was completely oblivious.
Well, I mean, in all the cases, someone dies. Were you just not watching the videos at all?
Yeah, but it's in the context of a movie. People like the gunshot one is like, oh, I think she says, oh, it just went off or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Which I kind of get, but like the burning one, like I still don't know who was setting her on fire, why that matters. Like,
well, it was the other person, the other demon that was the Amy person. You watched it. You watched her walk in and pour all the lighter fluid and then light her on fire.
Yeah, but I don't know who that Amy person is.
She was in the movie with her. She was like the other lead character in that Two for Everything.
Yeah, but movie. I don't know why that I thought it might have been part of the movie. Like, how do I know that's not a scene in the movie?
It's true, but you can. I was looking closely, and you can actually see her breathing in the chair. And then obviously they do some sort of
yeah, no, I got that too. But again,
cool cut, but
yeah, I don't. That's another thing. If it's filming movie stuff, what's part of the movie and what isn't? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like something happened near the end that made it obvious it wasn't part of the movie, or maybe it was a couple of the scenes before that.
When I got that happening, I hadn't revealed that there was a second being yet. I only knew of one. Everything I found was with the one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You hadn't find the guy with the snake ever?
No, I found that after.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
I thought he was in like a ton before I found that burning chair one.
I only found stuff with the girl.
Interesting.
Yeah, that would
And then I
be
finally
confusing.
found, right after the credits rolled, I found, or maybe that's when the credits rolled. Maybe I had to find both for the credits to roll at some level. I saw something with like the Garden of Eden illusion of it was my idea to put the snake in the apple or something.
Well, that would totally change the story
Yeah.
and like the understanding of the story of that scene in particular, because at that point in time, I'm pretty sure I had known that she was inhabited by the Lucifer character, or whoever, the other character.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, okay. Which was weird too, that and I mean it was kind of interesting that she had talked, the female being or whatever had talked about all the different ways you can die. So obviously she's died a lot, and I think she was saying that like burning is the worst, and then she gets burned. So I don't know if there was some other story bits that I didn't get yet, that
Okay.
maybe they
Well,
have a falling out and that's why she gets burned. I didn't see any of that necessarily, or maybe it was just jealousy. I don't know. It wasn't totally clear.
Well, an important part of understanding the burning at the very end, why is that person or creature letting themselves get burned? Like, the part of that is they're standing still, and it's almost like the first time I watched it, and still not knowing until right now that that's the other person doing it, like, it felt more like a suicide or wanting to die. But they're not
possible.
dying. It's just a temporary death of that version of them.
She wasn't tied to the chair? I don't remember exactly.
I don't think so.
I mean, there is one of the hidden clips where they are arguing with each other, the two
Being
humans
see
or
that
whatever.
one.
And she's basically defending humans and saying, like, you know, their creations are worthwhile. And I can't remember exactly, but
okay, I don't think I saw that one either.
I saw that one. Actually, I guess maybe I didn't piece together that they were both immortal beings. Like, I think in that one you can't really see the face, like the perspective. You only see the one. I don't
Could be,
quote me on that, though.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would like to try and just unlock everything so I could understand if I actually know the whole story, but I don't. I mean, gameplay wise, I'm not that interested in doing that.
Yeah, I looked at a guide for getting all the stuff, and I don't know if it's gonna happen. It's a lot. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
This
But
is
it's
making me
cool.
want to go back and play her story.
It is
Sadly.
cool, just not as cool as people seem to think it is, kind of thing.
Yeah. Fair enough.
All right, is that it for Immortality?
I think so.
That's it.
If there's stuff that we missed here that's super obvious, and I still deep down would probably blame the game for not making it super obvious.
Just to be
That's-
clear,
that's-
I have done no reading on the actual, like, I'm sure there's some websites that explain the whole story. I just haven't even read any of that.
that's probably my huge underlying criticism, that
Yeah, I also
if things are obvious or a big deal, the game doesn't do a good job of letting you know that. So it's easy for this game to put everything on the player as being a problem, not on the game itself. That, like I said, that kind of bothers me. Anyway, check it out. Let us know if, like I said, we missed anything major or story stuff. Maybe tag it with spoilers so people don't eviscerate you in the comments. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.